You know what time it is? Tipping points and puzzle pieces. The best hour of your week. We are going to have a great show for you today. We have an image here for you that I want you to go ahead and take a look at. And before we talk about it, and before I bring Mark on, just want you to reflect on what you see, maybe what you don't see. And then I'll go ahead and bring on our esteemed colleague, friend, entrepreneur, visionary. Woo, boy. Should I add more? Come on in, sir.
Hey, hey.
How are you? How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I need my hip waders on, but I'm feeling really good.
Oh man, we are gonna have a great show for you today. That is guaranteed. This one might knock your socks off. So put your seatbelt on, get your popcorn, and be ready to have your mind stimulated. Good afternoon, Mr. Dent. Glad to see you tuning in today. So, you we loaded this image up first. Go ahead and talk about this, Mr. Mark.
S- So the bottom of the image, which you can't see, unfortunately, I'm going to ask Marwan to read it for you since
It's
he
right
has
here.
it up.
See?
Okay, okay. Life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friends. Song from the Beatles, and as you note that there are two of them missing, and we all know this. I mean, it's part of our awareness of culture, anyhow. But the point is, we don't have the time to not act. We don't have the time to not come together. And fussing and fighting is not bringing us together. And today's subject is bitch slapping 2023 because we cannot continue to do what we've done separately and survive.
Rob says Rob says it's certainly a lot of titles.
Yeah. And there's no time for fussing and fighting. We have to come together. We have been working on homelessness for a while now. And we did Marwan drove and I was participating in a breakfast last week where we had a conversation with lots of people who are interested in helping the homeless folks that are not getting services to get more services. And that was a great thing. Some good things came out of it. And from those good things in our wonderful culture of fussing and fighting, we got a lot of hate mail. Or I should say, Marwan and other folks got hate mail um, about doing good things. And we need to stop this crap. We need to come together. We need to treat each other like human beings. If we can't do that, we need to look at ourselves hard in the mirror and think about who the hell we are, where we can treat other people poorly. And I'm going to have Marwan queue up something right now. I'm going to move my camera because I think you all need to see what we're facing. And I think you all need to see it clear. And I think you need to understand it. And you need to understand just how freaking helpless you are for the things that are going on. I get to see this every day. Marwan sees this every day. So we're going to share a little bit of it with you through the voice of John Oliver. Marwan, you want to cue that?
Yeah, give me a second here and I'll get that queued up here. Now that you can leave your camera on for this part.
Okay.
Uh what I need to do to queue it up though is I need to put up my fair use
Yes.
Facebook, fair use, YouTube, and Twitch, and all the rest. Let me go ahead and put my captions down there. Because the last time we did this, they actually muted our uh our video and I got a copyright strike. And so I had to just kind of deal with that. So let me go ahead and run my disclaimer here down at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and get this thing going here.
And this is certainly no comment on teaching.
Now, how much you said queue it at five? What now?
517.
517. All right. Go ahead and get that going here.
It'll run about 2 minutes, but he sets it up, and then you're going to see a comment by somebody that you need to hear.
right. I do enjoy this show.
He's very fun,
Comedy.
very poignant, and it's extraordinarily well. Yeah, that's good. Extraordinarily well researched.
All right, let's go.
Tried to search for affordable apartments area. Google.
Let me slow that down. I happen to listen to these videos. Oh, that is on normal. Wow. Okay. He's hyped up.
Google just
Yes.
says nope. And this serious lack of new affordable housing has enabled landlords to charge higher rents for the units that exist, something that has increasingly attracted institutional investors. These are corporate landlords like private equity firms or even publicly traded companies that pool the rents of their tenants and sell them as investments. They've long been players in apartment rentals, but more recently, after the 2008 housing crash, companies like these popped up to snap up single-family homes and rent them out.
Just gonna pause there, just so it decreases the chance of them doing it if we break up the video a little bit. Do you just want to commentate on the first part?
Yeah, it's we all know that rents are going up, and that houses are becoming less and less affordable. There's a long history, as I've said in repeated versions of Tipping Points, that people in San Jose have to commute 2 to 3 hours each way to find a home that they can afford to live in to work in Silicon Valley. We're seeing the same thing happen in Seattle, Redmond, and we're starting to see it happen here in Kitsap County. And after this, we'll talk about a little bit about coming together can do.
Right.
And because institutional investors are always trying to maximize returns, they'll take any opportunity to push rents. Take Monarch, which has been called Middle America's fastest growing landlord. Here is their owner last year salivating at the prospect of rent hikes.
We have an unprecedented opportunity, at least in my working lifetime, to really press rents. Press rents on renewals because the country is highly occupied. We're 97.5%. And so where are people going to go? They can't go anywhere. They want to be in apartments, or they have to be in apartments. And we have a tremendous opportunity to press both on renewing leases for existing residents and to reset market rates, which we've reset numerous times even this year.
Pause there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
So a little nauseous, are you?
Worse. Say, oh,
Yeah.
they want to be in apartments. They have to be in apartments.
So we're going to jack the rent up on them so we can maximize our profit.
Several times just this year.
Yeah. No indication that, these are human beings you're talking about. And even the human beings here that are haters about putting out, trying to help the homeless people. What happens if they become homeless because they're one paycheck away? I will say this again. 46% of America, 46% of America is one paycheck away from homeless. That's 151 million people. Real people you know. Wrap your head around that before you hate. So that's pretty much what I wanted you to see. And let's talk about how we resolve that.
Let me just play that last part again.
Okay.
Wow, they can't go anywhere, and for us,
they can't go in. Renew.
Here is their owner last year salivating at the prospect of rent hikes.
We have an unprecedented opportunity, at least in my working lifetime, to really press rents. Press rents on renewals because the country is highly occupied. We're 97.5%. And so where are people going to go? They can't go anywhere. They want to be in apartments, or they have to be in apartments. And we have a tremendous opportunity to press both on renewing leases for existing residents and to reset market rates, which we've reset numerous times even this year.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow is right.
So does that explain what's going on now? Why everyone's rent's going up? This has nothing to do with COVID. This has nothing to do with eviction protection. This has everything to do with maximizing your profits. The 1% to the 10%, that's who we're talking about. We're not talking about the 80% of the rest of us who are trying to get by at one level or another. We're talking about a very few people making lots and lots and lots of money while the rest of us become homeless and starve. So you want to hate on homeless people and people trying to help the homeless people? All I can say is something I can't say on this channel.
Thank you
But
for
you
your
know who you
restraint.
are.
Thank you for your restraint, sir.
So let's talk about what we do, because rents are based on market value, and you just heard that they jack and manipulate the market value. What if rent were modeled on average income in an area?
Like maybe by zip code?
Yeah. Well, let's say even the zip codes within Kitsap County. Let's just say Kitsap County as a whole, leaving Bainbridge Island out like they like to be left out. Sorry, Bainbridge Island people. But let's just take the average income, let's say in Bremerton, the 910, 912, 911, maybe 913 area. And the average income here is roughly somewhere around $55,000 a year. So if you take that as an average income, rents would be much lower than they are now. If we actually applied common sense to that, now how would we go about doing that? The state has a anti-rent control initiative in place, but if we got some people who were fairly smart attorneys and understand government policy pretty well, I'm sure that we could craft some kind of proposal to do exactly that. Maybe not with all of the people, but with some of the people, to guarantee affordable income housing, and basically say you cannot be a landlord in this area if you do not have, let's say, 46% of the units fall within this category based on um, income as opposed to market value. Because the market value is based on trying to attract people from everywhere else. Matter of fact, let me just be straight here. Every economic development model in Kitsap County and pretty much everywhere else is based on poaching from someone who is perceived as more able and wealthy than we are. When you talk to an economic development person, say, yeah, I'm trying to get Amazon in here. I'm trying to get Microsoft in here. I'm trying to get Cisco in here. And I'm like going, well, what about creating jobs here? Oh, no, it's too hard. But they don't actually say that. They'll find ways to dance around it. But what the Kitsap Resiliency Project is all about, people, is about creating local resources, creating local jobs. That's how we minimize the impact of people like Monarch, by creating local resources. That's it. And for that, we have to come together and talk, because no one's going to do it for you, and no politician is suddenly going to see the light and put together a proposal to put a referendum on the book about rent and or average income as opposed to market. That's going to be people coming together. That's bringing your piece of the puzzle to the table. Am I preaching? Damn straight I am. Why am I preaching? Because this is the end of the year. We're at the end of 2022. How much more can we take? How many more people are going to become homeless? How many more people are going to be told to pull themselves up by the bootstraps when 80% of the new jobs created are $15 an hour jobs? How much more can we take until we do the thing that we need to do, which is to come together and tell the leadership what is needed?
You know, tonight is city council, and it is budget time. And I implore everyone, I will put the link in the chat, not only for you just to tune in, which of course you can watch here on the conduit, but I will give you the link so that you can provide your own public comment. working in the background, I'm reading a text that just came into me from a response. I'm just going to read it here. There was a letter that was originated from Jeff. Shout out to Jeff. And the mayor responded and said that the golf course was self-sustaining, but we don't see an allocation for it in the budget, and that's a question mark. So some folks are going to be advocating for it tonight during the town hall for city council. And apparently, there's a $6.2 million in the budget for the golf course with an estimated $2 million profit or return. So if it's self-sustaining, then that means there should be $6.2 million coming in, right? It's not self-sustaining if that's the case. So we need to know what's going on there. Because does Kitsap County need a golf course, or does it need to house the unhoused? Does it need to feed the hungry? Does it need to provide adequate health care for the sick? There's other priorities that we need to be addressing here.
Yeah, I'm going to be a geek here for just a minute, or maybe a nerd, depends on how you look at it. But, self-sustaining, I do not think that word means what he thinks it means.
Well, I could be self-sustaining with if you give me $4.2 million.
Yeah, I could be a way more self-sustaining than I am. It would be a heck of a boon to our organizations, would it not? We can feed
Let me
people.
just say
We can
before you
put things together.
let me say this before you jump back in. Part of the way that I look at bringing your puzzle piece together, there's so many different ways, right? Um, I really want folks to think outside of the box. It could be a 3D puzzle, it could be four-dimensional chess. Your piece can be digging into the budget if that is where your expertise is, providing public comment, coming up with solutions on what can be done, right? We
Growing a
can't do
neighborhood garden.
growing neighborhood. It's all the things, right? Um, and so I just want people to think of that. Sometimes I think people look at it as, oh, it's going to be a bunch of meetings and trainings and not another one of these. It's like your puzzle piece is unique to you, you know. Um, so please just bring it, whatever that looks like.
Yep. And I promise you, we will not be playing buzzword bingo. This meeting is going to be for coming up with ideas, talking about ideas, and finding natural partnerships in the people who are there. And that's the way it has to work. You can't force people into a group. You have to have natural partnerships that come together. And each of those things will provide greater resilience, greater strength, and synergy. And that's what we need. We cannot keep fussing and fighting. There's no time.
And at the same time, Mark, I do want to be fair. What we did last week, I think was phenomenal. I'd like to give everyone an applause. Who was a part of that. So, every fourth Wednesday, we do a pancake breakfast and we merge, all the efforts of the day together, right? So we don't do tipping points and puzzle pieces because it's part of the breakfast, right?
Mhm.
And we dare to have folks come together. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, right? We had, the Republican, Janelle Holst, there. We had, what was it, Josh Hinman running for commissioner
Paige
there.
Joaquin.
Yep, Paige. What's her last name?
Joaquin.
Joaquin. She
Yeah.
was there. We
Wait,
had.
hold on. Hold on. I'm going to hold it up because I think I misspelled that. My brain is
Oh, okay.
Jarquin.
Warquin.
Jarquin.
Jarquin. Okay,
Jarquin.
interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
We had Drayton and Diana from the Foundation for Poverty and Homeless Management, KCR, Kitsap Public Health. We had Salvation Army there. We had folks that had lived experience there. We had a lot of different people that were there to do the work and not finger point and not say, you did this wrong, you should be doing this better. And we learned. We learned what and how Salvation Army operated and what they're able to do and what they don't do and why they don't do it. We looked at some of the issues and challenges. We broke up into subgroups, and talked about the issues and tried to come up with solutions. And shout out to Jeff Coughlin. He took that back as city council. That's his district, and spoke to the rest of the group. And they earmarked $10,000 for bathrooms downtown. And while that isn't, it's a drop in the bucket. Believe me, I understand. I just read a stat saying, $6.2 million for a golf course, and you're talking about $10,000. We're not even talking about 1%, right? We're talking about maybe a tenth of a percent. And so, yes, it's minuscule, but you have to start somewhere. And with all these agencies that have been doing this work, KCR and BHA and Housing Solutions and on and on and on, even the coalitions that exist, the Kitsap Housing and Homeless Coalition, which is a conglomerate of 40 or 50 different agencies here in Kitsap County. Um, that hasn't been done. And so we've made progress there. And so we've got to continue to build on that momentum. And that's what Mark has been talking about. This has been the conversation week after week after week on what it could look like. And so that is us combining our puzzle pieces together to make something bigger, right? So that's how I see that. So shout out to everyone for that.
Yep. And I will tell you that one of the greatest things for me was hearing the stories from Kirsten and from the Captain of Salvation Army and other people about what has been tried and why it hasn't worked, and some of the things that have worked. And I've often said, and I've written in this, and I'm not sure how much I've said it here, but when you get new information, you need to be able to reevaluate your opinion and your position. And I heard a lot of new information there that I had not, that caused me to reevaluate my positions on things. Not that my positions were all that negative, but they just allowed me to think about things in a different way. Like, okay, the county had put together toilets once before, I think Volunteer Park maybe, and someone burned down the toilet.
And it wasn't the unhoused. It was
And
someone who was housed.
it was not on the in-house. Now there are a lot of other problems that went with that, granted, but the people who supplied the toilet no longer wanted to supply toilets because it's a hazard to their inventory. Um, However, when they approached it again, the unhoused who were there stepped up to monitor and protect the toilets. So that was a solution I hadn't thought of before, because I'm as guilty as everybody else as underestimating the unhoused. They're humans. They have many, 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 many of them have had unfortunate incidences in their lives that put them where they are. It was not a choice. Nobody chooses that. And we need to treat them like human beings. And we need to go their direction a little bit as they can come our direction a little bit, and create a more human environment for everyone. And if you don't know what that looks like, show up. We'll have a conversation about it. There are several points to show up. Marwan, you want to put up the meet and greet sign? I'll go ahead and sign off video for a minute.
Oh no, you don't have to. I found a different way to load it.
Okay. So every other week, the next one will be on the 12th of November. We have coffee at the Cups Cafe in downtown Bremerton on 4th and Pacific. We have conversations. We talk about things. We answer questions. We talk about the Kitsap Resiliency Project. We listen as much as we talk. It's a chance to have coffee and explore ideas of what things can be done. We'll tell you what we think. We want to hear what you think, because this is going to take all of us coming together. Just come with an open heart and being solution focused. So the next one is at 9:30 in the morning on the 12th, and it ends at 11. And I know that's early for a lot of people, but the reason we ended at 11 is because at 11:30 we start the second workshop of the Change the World workshop program. And that will be at the downtown library on 5th Avenue, 612 5th Avenue, at 11:30, and it will go till 1 o'clock. Now, just a caveat on the workshops. We ran the first one last weekend. We can take people into this workshop and the third workshop. After that, they will be closed because the rest of the work after that is basically going to be the people working together to develop relationships and practice skills. And if you haven't joined the process by the third workshop, we can't bring you in late. There's just too much that's been covered.
All right. That is November 12th. You know what I like about the format of what you've created here in particular is one, it's not all day. It's not every Saturday, right? It's once a month. It's
Twice a month.
great twice a month. It's great
Yeah.
to start off with a little coffee and dessert. So I actually was at Cups yesterday and I had the like a blackberry crumble and the coffee, and it was great. I was there for 2 hours. Really nice atmosphere. I should have asked them to turn on the fireplace, but I'm a sucker for a fireplace, as you can see behind me. But it is what it is. But it's great, right? Just you can have a nice light breakfast there and just kind of talk for a little bit, and then right down the street you go to work. And what's nice about this too is it's also supporting your local library, supporting local business. So just yeah, I just like it all around.
Yep. And we do that on purpose. Matter of fact, I heard a rumor that the employees at Cups are going to be wearing blue Kids Up Resiliency Project shirts next on the 12th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So they really do support us. They put our flyers up. They are extraordinarily nice people and really good service.
Shout
So,
out to them. Give them a horn. I
so
like it.
not to put down other cafes in the area. It's just that they are working with us, and that's kind of our home base for doing this. Um, there
Mark,
are
let me jump in really quick.
sure,
What you said is important, right? Yeah, they're great, but there are a lot of other ones, right? You've got Pups, Cups, and Cones down on Manette. You've got Java and Juice, that just opened their second location. There's a
Fresh
lot
Cup.
of
There's
Yeah,
Fresh
there's a
Cup.
Fresh Cup. Yep, where Kendra's at. There's a lot of great people in Kitsap County, right? We just have to find a way to be more intentional on coming together and solving our community issues. Yep, there really are a lot of great people here.
Yeah, and I promise we don't waste your time. We don't. We're about figuring things out and making it better for everybody. We don't just want to go sit and bitch at each other. There's plenty of that going on without us.
But I do happen to love buzzword bingo. I just got to say it. It's
Uh,
like, hey, I was looking forward to that.
when I worked in corporate America back in the '90s, that was a thing. We would
Was it
sit in a
really?
we would sit in the meeting and we would wait for the do and we would like go bingo. You'd whisper to the guy next to you, bingo, I got all five in a row. Because there were key phrases that would come and go that were meaningless and or a misappropriation of words, which I absolutely hate. For a long time in the '90s, synergy was the word, and I'm pretty
Mm,
sure, going back and quoting again, I do not think that word means what you think it means. They would use words inappropriately because they were the current marketing buzz, but they had no real sense of what it meant. And for somebody in corporate America to use the term synergy in the way that they run their operations is just a travesty because it's like they don't want synergy. If they had synergy, then they would be in control. There were moments where things got close, but every time you had some amazing things going on in a corporation, very shortly you wouldn't.
mm.
And that's what's happening. We're watching the process machines roll over the top of us. And the only way to stop it is to come together. We don't need to be in Tiananmen Square with tank facing down tanks. What we have to do is come together and use the tools we already have to stop the onslaught. We just have to be clever about it. And I can guarantee you that if we have people together talking, that we will create synergy and we will find those clever solutions together. And now I'm sitting here looking dumb. Okay.
No, no, I was just gonna say,
Okay.
and more synergy, because some of the critique that I hear, um, is, well, there are already people that are doing work, and they're already being synergistic. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great. We do great things in silos. Stay tuned. We do great things individually. We do things, as great inclusive groups, right? That aren't siloed off. But it's as good as it is, we can do more, right? For a buzzword that I don't like is best practice, right? So when the
Wash your mouth
buzzword
out.
hips came around, I really enjoyed hips, which was high impact practices, right? Because it's best practices are always changing, right? So I like hips better. Uh,
Let me jump in here for a moment about best
yeah.
practices and what my issue with it is. And I've heard it often enough that I literally tell people, wash your mouth out with soap. They go, well, what best practices really means? Let me tell you what it means when someone uses it. It means
Oh,
I feel overwhelmed and I can't really think about what the problem is. So let's go find somebody else who solved a problem that's somewhat like ours and try and apply it directly to what we're doing, even though it can't possibly work because our situation isn't anywhere like their situation, but we haven't done the work to figure that out.
okay, I gotta give you the horn for that. All right. So, all right, let's talk about my beef here. All right.
Okay.
You triggered me now. So one of the things that I constantly deal with is when I'm an idea person, right? So, we talk about let's build a plane while we're flying it. Like, I really believe that I embody that spirit of doing that. And the whole I win or I learn, I don't lose. We just got to try and do something, and try with intention, right? We're not trying to waste time or money and effort and all those things, but we are trying to make a change. And what I get a lot in the space of resistance is, well, let's look around the country or other places and see what someone else has already done. And it's like, yes, I get not reinventing the wheel, but wouldn't it be just better if you're a maverick and you figure it out and you make something that works great for your region? We're here on a peninsula, so we've got a lot of our own unique challenges and situations, right? We've got the military, we've got the ferry, and we've got this metropolis 30 minutes away, and so we've got all these different things going on. So the situation that someone else is doing in New York or Texas or California may not work here. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't take a look and see what they're doing, but do we have any thoughts on our own to try to solve the problem and then maybe look and compare it and take some of the things we like from it instead of just saying, well, let's go and see what other people are doing? It's like I would so much rather just be a front runner.
And that goes back to we may not even know what the problem is that we have. We know that we see the results of it, we see the byproducts of it, but we don't know the cause of it. How can we apply what somebody else has done if we don't even know what our own problem is and what the causation is? That's the work that has to be done before, if you're going to go look at HIP, is it high impact practices? If you're going to
Mhm.
go look at practices, understand what you've got and what you're dealing with first. And I will tell you that I've had dozens and dozens of meetings over the years. And every time somebody has said that, I look at them and I say, well, what is the causation? And they say, well, I know what the causation is, but they've never been able to define what the real problem is. They will tell me about what the results of the problem is, but not what the causation of the problem is. I am like Marwan in some ways, in other ways, I am a planner, but most importantly, I'm an analyst. I like looking at things from the ground up. I like tearing problems apart and understanding the causation of them. Because I think with that and with the synergy that Marwan and I have, there you go, synergy with Marwan and I, is that we both bring varying aspects to the table and become a powerhouse for solving things. Yeah. Okay. And I
I couldn't
didn't get,
help it.
and I did not get kissed first. And you guys can guess what he just sent me.
That was a private message, not appropriate to share on the stream. I couldn't. I had to.
But yes, absolutely. And I like to understand why and how we got here. And actually, the workshops start off with that, which is one of the reasons that if you're not there by the third workshop and you haven't participated in them, we can't go forward because we're going to be dealing with the actual rolling up our sleeves and getting action on that. And we will be actually on the 12th, we will be talking about how we got into the mess we're in.
Mm. But do they just
That
show up?
they show up. Actually, I prefer it if they go on Facebook and tell me they're going to be there. But I would really like it if they say they're going to be there, if they actually show up. And I will say this on air right now. If you tell me you're interested, it's kissing my sister or it's kissing your sister. I don't care if you're interested. I care if you're going to show up or not. I care if you share the information out because that helps us get to further people. But if you're interested, so what? If you're going to show up, that's what I want to know. Because the world will be changed by those who show up. If you don't like what's happening, then you need to bring your voice.
You want to give some context to the I don't care that's kissing your sister? I've never
Okay,
heard that
so
one before.
I'm sorry. I guess it's a colloquialism that I grew up with. It's like,
Like what?
it's kind of like being interested is like kissing your sister. It's not really kissing anybody other than your sister. And unless you're into incest, which we won't go into, that's just like a non-thing. I mean, being interested is a non-thing. It's like, okay, great. You like that I put this up there. Great. I feel warm and fuzzy about it. Are you going to show up?
Okay.
Are you going to show up?
All
Are you
right.
going to sit? Are you going to roll up your sleeves? Are you going to learn? Are you going to meet other people? Or do you have to floss your cat? You know. And I know I'm being hardcore here. I know I am. But the fact is, we do this every day. Marwan and I put this on the line every day. I work 7 days a week. I do this every day. I'm writing a book. I'm doing all of these things. And if you don't care enough to show up, then it asks me why I'm doing this at all. It's a reality. We sit here and go, why am I bothering? And, okay, my daughter's 25. She may not make 60 because things may be screwed up so bad that there's no food and that we've completely messed everything up. And actually, there's a really good chance that happens. So I do it because of that. But if other people don't care enough to show up, to roll up their sleeves, to learn, to engage with each other, then what's the point? We have a democracy. And I was in a conversation with somebody earlier, Jeffrey Green earlier, about voting being so pathetically low, and especially at midterms. And I will honestly say, yeah, okay, the parties do a piss poor job of putting up anybody that's inspiring. Okay. But that's on us too. We're the ones who push them to do that. And then it's on us to vote. It's on us to do the best we can to maintain the boat from sinking until we can make changes. But you can't vote somebody in and expect them to do the job without our voice pushing them. And that's what we need to come together for. We have tools to make changes, but we have to understand how it works, and we have to understand coming together, and we have to understand where to put the lever to make it happen. And that's just the way it works. Show up.
While you were
Marwan's enjoying my diatribe today.
I am enjoying it. You need both, right? You need to have the, happy smiling conversations, and you need to have the straight talk conversations, right? And there has to be a sense of urgency. What I was looking for while you were speaking was I wanted to get the global numbers on hunger, and just kind of looking, it's like action against hunger.
Hunger.
This is it's a little too small for me to read. Doctors Without Borders.
Yep.
This is Save the Children. This is UNICEF, right? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Uh, it this is an issue here in this country, but globally, it's definitely an issue. If you're watching what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, there's some issues there, right, that affect the world stage. We've
The
got
the the Russian blockade because the Ukraine pissed off Russia. Oh my God, they're at war, pissed off Russia. So the Russians blockaded a grain shipment to Africa that would help people to keep from starving. That was 2 days ago.
there's fuel issues. I think there are people that are already suffering from the cold temperatures. And then we have what we have going on here, and let's not even talk about what's happening in our Silverdale Hospital. So, things are getting
Well,
worse.
actually, we will be talking about that in a couple of episodes.
Oh, good, good. Uh, things are getting worse. It's kind of like, crabs in a pot. I don't know if that is a myth or not. You put a crab in the pot and slowly bring it to boil, though they won't jump out.
Actually,
Uh,
actually, it's a frog, but the
it's a
frog in the
frog.
pot. It is a myth. The frogs will leave the area when it starts getting hot enough and uncomfortable enough. But the idea is that if the heat gets turned up enough, and look around you, folks, look around you. The heat
So
is
let me
way
ask
high
you,
now.
Mark, this is my concern. I feel like we are the frogs in the proverbial pot,
We are,
and
we are.
and we won't jump out. It's already boiling, and we're in it, right? We're at this precipice where, in some instances, it may be too late. It's going to be too late for a lot of us, right? Folks are perishing every day from malnutrition and other issues, health issues.
Not
But
to mention the climate issues, which are just going to keep increasing.
so what do you think it's honestly gonna take? You're doing the work here, right? You're saying, "Hey, I work 7 days a week. I've got a daughter
We
that I
work
wanna
seven.
leave a
We
world
we
to."
work 7 days a week, is what I said. I said we work 7 days a week. I want to acknowledge you do the same thing.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. Um, but, you have a daughter that you wanna leave a world to, that she can thrive
Says
in,
you.
as do I. I have grandchildren that will leave it a better place. Um But I'm worried, and so I'm asking you the question, right? You are doing this work, but you aside, if you were to take yourself out of this, do you feel like we're too far gone? Is there a chance? What will it take? Do we need to have another world war? Do we, what will it be to snap Americans out of the malaise that we're in and say, you know what? We've got to put these differences aside and we've got to do something now and we're in it together.
So okay. So first of all, there are too many answers to answer that, but there's one really straightforward answer I can give. It's
Sure.
going to take 20%.
Okay.
It's going to take 20% of the people coming together and moving in the right direction. Because when that 20% comes together, everybody else starts to follow along slowly at first and then accelerating until we change. And then when 75% reaches, when we hit that 75% mark, someone from the government will jump out in front with a flag and say, look what we did.
Mm.
Government doesn't change things. They take credit when you've already changed things. That's the way it works. It's the way it's always worked. It's the way it works everywhere in the world.
So from the macro, there's about what 360 Americans, 360 million. So 20%
Mhm.
would be about 72 million here in Kitsap County. We're what
26,
350,000,
300, 270, 280,000 right now.
200. All right, so let's call it 280. So 20% would be 56,000.
Mhm.
How do we get to 56,000? Because I feel like we have
One
20.
foot in front of the other and reaching out. And, we've been nice. We've talked for 37 episodes. We've talked about inviting people to the table, and people go, get your ass up off your chair, show up on a Saturday morning, have a cup of coffee, and let's get this done. And if you're thinking about what's in it for me, what's in it for you is tomorrow.
Mm.
You should be asking what's in it for your children. Tomorrow's tomorrow. You don't believe it? Start reading. You can put last week I had, or the last time we did this, I had a guy with his head in the sand, his butt in the air. That's you if you don't get moving. You can ignore it, but it's not going to ignore you. It's still going to run over the top of us. How you get there? Show up, start learning, engage, have conversations. I promise you, on Saturday mornings, I'm a lot cheerier than I am right now. Partly because they have a gluten-free breakfast menu there that I really like too.
You
So
gotta type
yeah,
that in
it's
the chat.
how do we do this? One person at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one group at a time, one meeting at a time, one conversation at a time, one foot in front of the other, and you just keep moving.
I think that's a great answer. I'm going to steal that. I'm giving you your quote now, and then after that, I'm going to take it and say I said it. What's in it for you
Tomorrow,
tomorrow? So remember this day, everyone, because from this point on, Marwan said it. I love that, but I think it's that serious. It really is that serious. I do a show with Pastor Ellington. Shout out to him on Saturdays, and he says, "Okay, well, we'll see you next Saturday, Lord willing." And it's tomorrow is not promised. No matter what you believe in or not believe in, like you said, it believes in you, even if you don't believe in it. Death comes for us all, and we're not promised tomorrow. And many of us are not being the squirrels and squirreling up our nuts and planning for harder days, right? And some of it is, hey, we're in survival mode, and so it's just enough for us to hang on. And as hard as that is, and as I don't want to say irresponsible, as callous as it may
challenging.
seem, that's not enough, right? You have to hit another gear and start to put some things away. I'm telling folks, hey, you need to start building that storehouse of water and emergency rations, right? And it may be that you don't get that Starbucks this week, or only go every other week so that you can get a 5 gallon bucket of water. You start getting that food that's gonna be sustainable over time, right? That's not going to take a lot of energy to prepare. You have to start thinking of these things, and you're looking at it like, well, I don't have 3 weeks of water and food, and I don't have this and that. Well, you start with one day at a time. Hey, I
Yeah,
got 6 hours of food. I got 6 hours of water. I got 12 hours of water. I got 24 hours of water. You have to prioritize it, right? And if you
yeah.
have children, those are your kids. And so when it comes down to it, when it gets bad, what typically happens, right? We're already divisive now, and we're living high on the hog, right? We're in a luxury situation in this country in comparison to other countries on this planet. And when it really does get hard, what's going to happen? Folks are going to look out for their own first. And so if you have children and elderly and disabled folks that you need to look out for, and you're not preparing, it doesn't matter how empathetic people are, they have to look out for themselves and others first, right? You got to put
Yep.
the mask on yourself before you try to help others.
And together we're better. So get together with your neighbors. Talk to your neighbors. Do community gardens. I guarantee you, in your neighborhood, there are people who grow things. Well, they may grow pot, but that's okay too. They know how to grow things. There are people who are going to be interested in doing that. We had a barbecue at Marwan's neighborhood, and several people there are people who grow things. Have people in your neighborhood come together to do community gardens, because that's food. Do you notice the food prices keep going up? That'll mitigate some of the food prices, but it also prepares you for tomorrow. It prepares you for when there isn't food, because you're growing food. And then you can have parties where you get together and can the food, and everybody gets some of the canned food. That's how you can prepare without coming out of pocket. And you can have fun with it, and you can build community with it. But you have to take the first step.
All those ideas are going to come from the group, and that's why I will revisit quite a bit. That breakfast last Wednesday because it was so many different organizations and people coming together. And quite frankly, having knowledge and information that the rest of the group didn't have, right? We can be critical of what different organizations do, right? Salvation Army, as an example, is not perfect, right? They don't do everything perfect. They've made mistakes, but some of the things that they do has rhyme and reason, built into their policy and procedures, right? Some of the things they have locus of control over, and some things they don't. And when you
And
don't
the
know,
mistakes, and one of the things we learned is that the mistakes they were made is because they got something put on them that they didn't plan for and wasn't in their mission.
right, that's what I'm saying. But if
Yeah.
you don't have those conversations and that information isn't shared out, then you look at it as, well, they're the enemy, right? They're taking advantage of the situation. And again, not to say that some of the mistakes that they make aren't mistakes, and that they do have issues. Everyone has issues, right? G2 is not
And
perfect.
no, and
Uh,
mistakes are things we learn from. If
right.
we, otherwise they're not worth making. And I will say this about the Salvation Army: that you could say all kinds of bad things about them, but they picked up the ball and they ran with it, and they're trying to learn from their mistakes.
The thing for me is trying to focus on the solution. Now, you do need to, as you were saying, not treat the symptom. Look at the actual, what is the actual problem, because that's what we need to solve
Well,
ultimately.
and actually, what I said, and I want to make this very clear because I don't want to have another email from someone telling me what kind of a hole I am. Um, we need the people who are addressing the symptoms to be continuing to address the symptoms, because the symptoms can kill you. But
Yes.
you also need someone, that would be you and us together, to start addressing the cancer, which is creating the symptoms that everybody is ignoring. And
Hey, you
just
know
want to
what?
clarify that.
No, that's a great point, and I was just getting ready to say that, right? If you have a gunshot wound or a knife wound, you have to still stop the bleeding, right? Then you have to perform the surgery and do what you need to do to heal the wound. So no, you're absolutely right. You're not stating that, hey, no, you just need to address the issue and we don't need to worry about all the symptoms that are out here making people sick and making the situation worse. So I'm glad
Creating
you
homelessness.
clarified that.
Yeah.
And part of that is, the intellectual honesty of having a conversation, right? The intent. If I understand that your intention is to be helpful and to help people, that if you say something that sounds kind of seems kind of off, I got to look at, who am I talking to? What are we talking about? How does he typically operate? What kind of social capital has he built up with me in relationship? And does he really mean it that way? Can I ask for clarification? To see, hey, I heard this funny. Is that what you meant, or did you mean something else? But oftentimes we just go half cocked and say, "Oh, I can't believe you said that. You're done." Right? This isn't, this is
I've
an
been
issue.
canceled.
You can't cancel me. I quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Cancel culture is a thing. For those of you who have not seen it, Gabriel Iglesias Fluffy has a brand new show out on Netflix, and it is, for those of you who are Fluffy fans, he's funny anyhow, but he gets right into it and he talks about cancel culture in a really big way. It's brilliant. I love his new show is brilliant. It's way more socially engaged and talks about social problems than anything else he's ever done.
All right. I don't know who Fluffy is, but maybe I'll check it out.
Mexican comedian,
His name is Fluffy, huh?
Gabriel Iglesias, but his nickname is Fluffy.
Oh, I know who that is. I didn't know his
Yeah,
nickname is Fluffy.
yeah. I learned this from my daughter, along with so many things.
Ah, yes. Our children.
We teach us all the time. So we're getting down to that last couple minutes.
Yes, sir.
So I've said a lot today. So why don't you have the last statement today?
So the last statement is this. I want people. Let me retract this. I'll end with that, because I want to keep with the sense of urgency that Mark is the purpose of this episode is we do not have time to waste. And I really do love the quote of what's in it for you tomorrow. That's what's in it for you. Uh, we are going to be caught unprepared. And unfortunately, even if you feel like, hey, you know what, I'm doing a pretty good job of being prepared, your preparedness that you have is only going to sustain you for so long. And the rest of us who are unprepared is going to be a drag on the rest of the system, right? So whether it's directly or indirectly, we really are all in this together, right? Hey, I'm very self-sufficient and I've got my network and I'm good and this and that. If you find yourself at St. Michael's right now, you're going to have a problem, right? Especially if a bunch of people end up at St. Michael's all at the same time. Doesn't matter how prepared you are, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have an issue. So it really does impact us all. We cannot wait. That this urgency is here. We talk about this every week. We try to find different ways to engage the community, bring people, and not even like-minded. Really try to bring different-minded people together
We
to
need to.
have conversation, right? And I get a lot of pushback on that from time to time, where it's like, well, why would you talk to this person, or why would you have this person on the show, or why would you do this? It's like, because there's something that we have a commonality in, right? Unless you're just a hateful person, or Mr. Mustache, and we know who that is, right? uh People have some endearing qualities, right? And there's a lot of gray in there. And if you get to know someone and have conversations with them, then there's a chance that you may be able to move and steer them into a space that is less ignorant, right? And I don't mean ignorant in the bad sense of the word. I mean ignorant in the definition of the word, of not knowing, not having understanding, not having absence of experience. Um, so those things are important, and that's why I engage, and you will see me in groups of people that a lot of other people wouldn't engage it, right? And wouldn't spend time with. And so you will see me kind of everywhere. And I love that. And I just hope that you really take that quote to heart, and really bring your puzzle piece. And that's what it means, right? We're saying, hey, bring your puzzle piece. And a lot of times I'll say, hey, Mark, you need to be more specific. People need actual steps. Do one, do two, do three, and I can follow the steps, right? And so you got to paint the picture for them. And for Mark, it's no, it's your puzzle piece. You need to bring it here, and then together we'll figure out how we all fit together and we go forward. So there is a sense of urgency. Now, to put the cherry on the top of the whipped cream, I'm encouraged because I've seen the work done. There was proof of concept of it last Wednesday. There's proof of concept of it every Wednesday. We've got double digits watching us live right now. So that is the proof is in the pudding. And so just, continue on, understand that we've got to prioritize this. This is important. We are not immune to hunger, to homelessness, to addiction, to, health issues, to war. All these things can hit our shores. They're already here. They're getting worse, and they're all happening at the same time, right? We're very sick as a nation. We have many comorbidities, and we've got to heal, but we've got to heal now. We can't wait anymore.
And we have to heal together.
Facts.
So, 46%. Let's say we have 280 thousand people in Kitsap County. 46% puts us at 140, 135,000 people in Kitsap County. You know somebody who's one paycheck away from homelessness. Everybody here knows somebody. That's almost 1 in 2 people in Kitsap County.
And you're saying one paycheck, right? Let's say, I've got a nice little savings and I'm doing okay. But I get injured, or there's a lot of downsizing, right? We're in a recession. You get laid off, and you burn through your savings in 3 to 4 months because you can't find anything, and or you get sick at the same time. Like these things happen, right?
Or cycling back around to the beginning of it, a private equity firm buys your property and jacks your rent up 25%. And suddenly your savings start going away because you have to pay 25% more in rent.
Oh, that's the final word. All right. Well, man, what a great show. We'll be back in 57 minutes with our housing conversation with Bremerton Housing Authority and Kitsap Community Resources. Hope to see you then. Again, for those of you that can't check that out, tonight is City Council. Please come and give your public comment. That is critical and important. And we will be live broadcasting that also. So for Mark Boatwright-Frost, I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit Network.